Ladies and gents, hi. My name is Jason Taylor. I'm a developer in Pietermaritzburg. A estate that I develop is Capitol Hill Estates, which is on the sort of northeastern side of Pietermaritzburg. A lovely mixed-use residential estate. Does sectional title and lovely freestanding homes. But that is not the reason we are talking here today. We're talking about an element I want to introduce to you called the rental trap. What is the rental trap? It is effectively the difference between owning a house on a mortgage bond or renting a similar house for a similar value. So we're going to focus on mostly on the financial side of this today, but I did want to introduce you to a couple of slides before that. There's obviously a lot of benefits behind our home ownership besides financial. There's security if you're in a state like Capitol Hill. You can give your house the own flair, whereas renting you obviously can't. It's a wealth builder, it's a forced savings, and it's a retirement nest egg. So by putting that money away monthly, a lot of us don't have the discipline to do that, but when you have a bond, you have to put that money away. It's a good retirement nest egg for you. But again, on the financial side, which is really the purpose of this talk, houses outside of states typically increase between 6 and 8%. Houses inside of states are more along the 10 to 15% mark. And the big caucus behind this whole thing is really the monthly bond amounts stay constant for the duration of the bond, which is normally about 20 years. And that you'll see later on the effects of that. On the rental side, now you're obviously paying off someone else's bond. You don't own the property, so the increase in the value actually belongs to your landlord and not you, which is obvious. And rental increases by approximately 8%. Per annum in South Africa. Right, in this particular example, I'm going to show a typical house of R1 million. It's obviously a nice 3-bedroom, could be a 4-bedroom. The bond on R1 million at today's rate of 10.5, which is actually prime minus 0.5, which is what most bonds would go for at the moment. It's gives you 9,009, so let's call it just under 10,000 rand. 9,984 is the exact amount at 10.5%. Very important factor. Annual increase of 0%. In year 1, it is 9,984. In year 20, it is 9,984. And obviously in year 20, your salary hopefully should have gone up 20 times by then. On the rental side, the home will never be yours. So obviously, you are paying, even though you are paying for it. The rental of a million rand house at the moment, I've estimated at about 8,500 rand. Now, this is where it really comes back to bite you, is the annual increase of 8%. And you'll see the effect of that a little bit later on. Right, so let's get stuck into the detail of the figures, right? So to get you guys used to the general principle, I just wanted to look at the first 5 years as a start, and then we can look at the 20-year picture thereafter. So first off, cash flow. So your monthly cash flow is obviously where everyone starts. And if you're renting, in this example, R1 million home, for a monthly bout would be about 8,500. If you mortgage that R1 million home, you'll be paying 9,984. And that's exactly where that terminology comes from, the rental trap. The trap is, in year 1, it's cheaper to rent generally than to buy. So you look at that thing, you go, oof, that extra 1,500 rand a month, oof, I just can't afford it. Let me not buy, let me rent and look at it next year. The problem is next year, the prices go up. So your bond goes up. This is obviously based as if you bought it in year 1, not if you carry on only wait until year 3 and then buy. Buying in year 1 versus renting in year 1, these are what the differences they show. So year 1, 8.5 rental. Year 2, it goes up by 8%, so 9,180. Year 3, 9,914. Now, in year 3, if you rented that property, same property for 3 years, your rental would be 9,900 rand. If you'd bought that property 3 years ago, your rental is still 9,984, the same as year 1, same as year 5, same as year 20. And that's obviously then when year 4 comes along, your monthly rental amount is actually more than your bond. Year 5, even more. And it's ridiculous how expensive it gets towards year 20. And that bond still stays at 9,984. Very, very important principle to get your head around. In total rand figures, although the monthly break even is about year 3, which is typical in South Africa, in total figures, total rand figures, actual break even in cash flow is year 5. So what does that mean? Your first 2 years of rental is quite a bit cheaper. So once it swings over in year 3, your year 4 and 5 eventually catches up to those first years of being more expensive, and your bond and your rental amounts in total over those 5-year periods are about the same in year 5. However, in year 5, or sorry, in the whole process, your mortgage, if you had a mortgage, you obviously own the property. If you rental, you don't. So rental, you've got zero growth in the property. If you had a mortgage, you bought it R1 million in year 1, and an 8% increase in value, you're sitting at 1.36 million rand. So you've got 360,000 rand of extra value that you've been created by borrowing money from the bank. It's an unbelievable wealth creator, this property ownership. Then the bottom graph is just an accumulation of everything there. So it's the rental versus mortgage, which is the difference between the cash flow of mortgage over rental. So in the first year, it's 17,000 rand a year that you paid more for the property on mortgage versus rental. Year 2, it accumulates a bit, and then by year 5, you've now got almost down to zero. It's 600 rand. And that's what talk about the break even. Then it goes completely reverse, and that's where I'll show you that in that slide. By year 6, it really starts pushing the other way, where you've actually paid a lot more in rental than you would have in a mortgage bond. And by year 20, it's astronomical what a difference it makes. And then obviously the property value goes up. So now looking at the bigger picture on a 20-year plan, you can see really what a difference it makes. So your monthly amount, that first table we just looked at, your orange amount is your 9,000, just short of 10,000 rand in your bond repayment. Remember, it does not move. Monthly, it stays all the way through to 20 years. But if your rental amount, although it starts slightly lower than your mortgage bond, by year 3, it's about the same. Year 4 and 5, it goes up, and then because it's 8% on 8% on 8% every year, it doesn't just go up on a straight line from the beginning. It's 8% of the last year's amount. It ends up close to 30 or just over 35,000 rand. That same property. So if you rented a property and lived in the same property that was renting today for 8,500 rand, in 20 years' time, you're going to be paying 36,000 rand for that rental. Then similarly on an accumulated basis, now looking at pure rands, year 1, 2 all added to each other on both the rental and the mortgage bond side. Same thing. Obviously the graph is growing now on mortgage bond because it's accumulating on the previous year, but it does not nearly grow as much as your rental amount. Your rental amount, you're going to cost 4.6 million rand. You're going to physically pay out 4.6 million rand on renting a house that starts at 8.5 over 20 years, and you're going to have paid 2.4 million rand in bond repayments over that year. Obviously, there's a bit of interest in that bond, but it's still 2.2 million rand less than your rental amount over 20 years. Huge saving. On the property value, it's just a straight line. Obviously, rental, there is no property value increase, so this is a straight graph, very simple to follow. Starting out at year 1 at R1 million, ending up at year 2 it's 4.3 million rand from our table that I can share with you guys if you need. But yeah, that's the actual increase in value that you only get if you get a mortgage bond or obviously pay cash. And then this slide, guys, is really an amalgamation of everything I've spoken about so far. It's the difference in the rental versus the mortgage bond. Obviously, the rental in the beginning being slightly more up until year 3, then being breaking even the same amount, but accumulating to the same amount over 5 years. And then from year 6 to 10, which is this blue line below the line there, it just shows how exponentially better it is to have a bond over a rental amount. Your rental amount is getting 8%, accumulating more and more every year, getting much more on a monthly and annual basis to your mortgage bond. giving you a big differential. So it's a difference between the mortgage bond, the rental amount, and the mortgage bond, showing in the blue line. And then obviously the increase in the value of your house, showing in the orange line. That going up only if you have a mortgage bond and have the home ownership element. The total difference over 20 years being that you've added 6.58 million rand wealth, more wealth than renting. Unbelievable figure, but it really is a true testament to compound interest, and why we can often get caught up in this rental trap. So that's about it, guys, for the financial side of the figures. I just wanted to give you a little bit about Capitol Hill. If you want to come and invest in Capitol Hill, obviously would love to show you around. It's an estate out on the northeastern side of Pietermaritzburg. Got some lovely, in fact, let me just show you a quick picture here. So that's where we are located, a lovely security estate, literally just over 4.5 kilometers from the center of the CBD. We've got some apartments you could look at, 1-bedroom units. We've got some 2-bedroom units, apartments, and there's a good idea what the actual free, the houses are looking like in Capitol Hill. So look us up on www.capitolhill.co.za and come and have a look. And if you want any more information from me on the rental trap or the financial side of home ownership, please feel free to contact us. Have a good evening. Ciao.